Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Timothy here. We are doing another Odyssey Draft. I figured I would do one more while the queue is still up. Hopefully that's entertaining for you guys. I know this probably isn't as relatable as Hour of Devastation, but I enjoy this set quite a bit, and I hope that you guys enjoy a little bit of it too. Let's see. Nantuko Mentor gets +X till end of turn, where X is that creature's power. So basically doubles a creature's power. That seems decent, although it is a 3-mana 1/1 and it requires other creatures to be good. Whenever enchanted creatures dealt damage, its controller creates that many 1/1 green squirrel tokens. That doesn't seem amazing to me. There's a Firebolt here, and Firebolt seems really good, but red is also just stone cold, almost unplayable here. Even though I guess you could splash this, there are tons of ways to just discard it and get it into the graveyard and flashback it. 2 damage is enough to kill a lot of things in this set. Not many. I think I'm going to start off with Firebolt. I don't actually know how good this rare is, although it seems like it could be decent in a green deck. It's kind of a similar version of this card, which gives +2/+2 for 1 mana, but I don't know. It doesn't do anything on its own, which has me a little skeptical, and I know Fireball is good. Ooh, Gorilla Titan is a strong card. So this is a 5-mana 4/4 trample, which is already very sizable in this set. You'll notice just looking at the packs, for those of you who aren't like super familiar with Odyssey, which includes myself, that the creatures are generally small. But it also gets +4/+4 if there are no cards in your graveyard, which is pretty crazy, right? A lot of times there will be cards in your graveyard, but if you manage to get some sort of combo where you could eat cards out of your own graveyard and you're also not too worried about having Threshold or something like that, this can come down as just an 8/8 trampler, which dominates the board. There's also Flame Burst, which I don't really want to push myself in red, but Flame Burst is good. It deals 2 damage at instant speed, and it also deals an additional damage for each other Flame Burst that's in either player's graveyards. I think I just take this Gorilla Titan, though. Animal Boneyard is part of the cycle of enchantments that you can put on lands to give them additional abilities. So is... No, I don't think Steam Vines. And Steam Vines is actually pretty bad, but Gorilla Titan's a huge beater, and I am passing up a red card there to take it, but I think that's fine. Here we have a couple actually decent cards. There was also a Morbid Hunger in that last pack. Mossfire Valley could help us splash this Firebolt, which is nice. Lithothog sacks artifacts and lands to get +1/+1, so you can use this as a finisher, even though it's very underpowered until then. Hallowed Healer impressed me last time we played quite a bit. It's very, very good. It just prevents damage, makes combat very difficult for your opponent, and then once you get Threshold, you just can't deal damage anymore. Then there's also Muscle Burst, which is the green version of that last card we saw. Kind of like taking the Valley here. Mana Fixin's kind of weak, or I could also just take Muscle Burst. It's basically Giant Growth, but it gives another +X for each Muscle Burst in a graveyard. I don't know that I'm actually playing, like, I might not have to splash, so I'll stay on green here because I really want to play this Gorilla Titan. And, okay, Patriarch's Desire is good. Auramancer's whatever. Spark Mage is really bad, I think. It's a 1-mana 1/1, and if it deals damage to an opponent, you get to shoot one of their creatures for 1, but you can see the problem there is that you have to get in with a 1/1 to do it, and then if there are creatures to kill, obviously they're just going to block. This is pretty weak removal, I think. It's 5 mana for instant speed, 3 damage. If you have Threshold, it deals 5 damage, and it only hits creatures. It doesn't hit players. But maybe I want to take that. Red's very bound to be open, but there aren't very many good red cards, so I don't know what to expect there. Tremble seems just terrible. And white's looking open, but the only decent white card here is Auramancer. Maybe I want to take Patriarch's Desire and just try to cut some black, even though I just passed a Morbid Hunger. This card is very good, although it's kind of at odds with Gorilla Titan. Guess I'll stay on color and take this Thermal Blast. Balshan Beguiler. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player reveals the top 2 cards of their library. You choose one of those cards, put it into his or her graveyard. Okay. Trying not to clear my throat as much. I know I did that a lot in the previous video, and it's kind of annoying. We could take another Thermal Blast. Mad Dog's pretty bad. If it didn't attack, it basically sacrifices itself. Afflict is probably the pick, and I guess we'll move it on black now, even though I wish I had the Patriarch's Bidden over this Thermal Blast if that's what I was going to do a pick ago. Green looks like it's getting cut pretty heavily here, so Junk Golem seems not great. Anarchist, there are 2 cards. Ooh, another Flame Burst. I don't think we're going to get the other Flame Burst back, but Anarchist is a 5 mana 2/2 that can get a sorcery back to your hand when it comes into play, and then there's a blue version of this called Scrivener, which gets an instant back from your graveyard. I'm going to take Flame Burst here. It's very cheap removal. Acceptable losses would be an acceptable card too. But you'll notice a lot of these red cards, like just look at these red cards, they're pretty bad, right? This one exiles cards from your graveyard to get +1/+1. Not that bad with Gorilla Titan, but it is green, or I'm sorry, it's not green, it's red-black. Don't know if I'm going to be playing that yet, but this is pretty easy Flame Burst. 2 damage is enough to kill a lot of things. Here's another combo with Gorilla Titan. I think acceptable, or Blazing Salvo is pretty poor. It deals 3 damage to a creature, but your opponent can have them deal 5 damage to themselves in order to negate that damage more or less. This only hits creatures. Could take a Timberland Ruins here. Maybe I want the Rotten Giant just to kind of work with my Gorilla Titan. Blazing Salvo is good if you're hyper aggressive. Currently I only have 1 creature in the deck. This is kind of a tough pick for me. I'm not sure. I don't think I want Rotten Giant, so to speak. But it's between that and like Blazing Salvo. I'll go and take it. Just try and combo with my Gorilla Titan. And we have a little bit of flexibility. We have 3 red removal spells, and they're kind of like some of the better removal spells in this set. For red, at the very least. Flame Burst and Firebolt do a good job of dealing with early game creatures, but don't particularly deal with late game creatures well. And then Thermal Blast is decent when you have Threshold, but it also goes against our Rotten Giant and Gorilla Titan. So, not quite know what we're doing here. Mirari. Huh. Okay, so Mirari, for those of you who don't know, 5 mana artifact, but whenever you cast an instant sorcery, you can pay 3 mana to copy it. So you can copy these spells. I don't know if Mirari is good in this set or not. But doubling up on certain cards seems good. I do think this format's slower. If not, I would take Halberdier here, which rumbles pretty well. 4 mana, 3 power, first striker. I think I'm going to try out Mirari. I mean, we're doing a flashback draft. We're not going to get many opportunities. In fact, this is probably the last opportunity we're going to get to do it. So why don't we try some stuff out? And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But okay, so I could take Halberdier here. I could take Cabal Pit, which probably won't be good. I could take Cartographer, which is not bad. But Partick Firecat actually might be decent here. The stats aren't great. It's a 2-power haste creature for 4, but it actually pumps up our Flame Burst. Maybe Halberdier's just better. Like, maybe I don't have to go all in on Flame Bursts. But, yeah, let's just take Halberdier here, I think. Cartographer would be fine, I guess. Earth Rift. Mirari with some of the land destruction seems actually just quite rude. Rites of Initiation. So you discard any number of cards, and all of your creatures get +1/+0 for the cards you've discarded this turn. If I end up with a ton of creatures, that could be really good, especially with Tramplers and the such. It works with Mirari, but Steam Vines is terrible, like just absolutely terrible. It's just awful. So we're looking to we're not going to get a lot of green in pack 1, which means we're not going to get a lot of green in pack 3, but it's possible we get some green going into the next pack. Guess we'll take Lithotog here. This is the type of card that once you know your opponent's open, being able to sack a land is, you know, you have 6 lands on the battlefield, you can kind of close out a game with this. I don't think it's very good on its own. Do I want to play Tremble? Probably not. Spark Mage. I guess you have to give this evasion for it to be decent, but I don't know, it's probably unplayable. Bash to bits to destroy an artifact. You can flash it back to destroy another artifact. Really, this is weird because Demolish is in this set. So having another artifact destruction spell is really weird. Okay, Sacritog is the one that exiles cards from the graveyard and also sacks artifacts. Might be a combo with Lithotog, who knows? I don't know that we want to splash. I mean, we have some black cards that really work well with our Gorilla Titan. Primal Frenzy's pretty bad. Just an aura that gives trample. Need for Speed lets you sack a land to give a creature haste. I don't think it's good. Dwarven Recruiter is a 3-mana 2/2, and it lets you search your library for a bunch of dwarves and put them on top of your library. It's decent. Gravedigger we know is good. Chainflinger actually seems pretty good too. It's a pinger, and then once you have Threshold, it starts pinging for 2, and it can hit creatures or players. And then Sylvan Might's a decent little combat trick. It gives +2/+2, but I'm looking for creatures here. I might end up playing this if I have a wide number of creatures as kind of a win condition, but Deadstone or Sandstone Deadfall is actually probably fine too. Here's that Scrivener I was talking about, the blue anarchist, so to speak, but I think Chainflinger is probably good, right? Battle of Wits. Yeah, read this card if you don't know what it does, and tell me whether or not you'd take it here. Deep Reconnaissance. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and you can flash it back. Actually like that here. Refresh would be fine, I think. Ghastly Demise is good. But I kind of like this as a way to splash our black cards. And I guess you can copy it. Mirari might not make the cut here. There's not much else in the pack for us. Demoralize could be decent if we end up with a bunch of creatures again, but currently I have 4. Dwarven Grunt seems really bad. This is why you avoid red, but I kind of like the ramp spell. Engulf in Flames deals 1 to target creature. It can't be regenerated this turn. You can flash it back. The Ether Burst is the blue version of whatchamacallit. Okay, tons of blue cards here. Syncopate, Ether Burst, Avon Fisher. I even think this card's pretty good. But we're going to take this Rabid Elephant. It's very hard to kill in combat. It's a 5-mana 3/4. It gets +2/+2 for every creature that blocks it. So it makes it very difficult to multi-block. You just have to straight up have a creature with like a 5/6 or a 6-power creature to block this effectively. There are no Death Touch creatures in this format as far as I know. Crescent Avenger would be fine. Leaf Dancer would be fine. But go ahead and take Rabid Elephant. Put a little bit more beef in the deck. Howling Gale. Okay, Partic Swordsmith. Discard a card at random to give it +2/+0. That's so bad. Maybe I take Ravaged Highlands here. Mana Fixin. Another way to get a card in the graveyard, if that's what I end up wanting to do. Might not be what I want to do, but I'll take a piece of Mana Fixin here. I do have to start prioritizing creatures. Karmic Justice. Don't think that's great, though. There's another Muscle Burst. They do get better in multiples, and then, again, we want to just prioritize creatures here. There's a Repel in the pack. Predict has some pretty cool combos in this set. If you don't know what Predict does, you choose a player and you reveal the top card of their library, put it in the graveyard, and if you guess what card it is, and if you guess it right, you draw 2 cards, but you still draw a card regardless. This card's been seeing a lot more play in Legacy. Guess I'll take another Muscle Burst here. Mirari probably not going to make the cut. Is pretty good with these and some tramplers. But we're looking for creatures here, and unfortunately we're just not getting any in our colors. Skull Fracture, no. This card's okay. I think I'll take acceptable losses here as a way to deal with some of the bigger things. I don't think I want some random land destruction spell. It's possible I just wanted to be different colors altogether. Partic Miner, sacrifice a target player can't play lands this turn. I think we have to take a creature here. This card is interesting. It's like a little mini Pestilence. There's another Muscle Burst. As much as I want to take that, I need to start taking some creatures. Mad Dog, not great. This dwarf dude doesn't seem amazing either. Mad Dog's so bad against certain decks, though, where it just has to attack into him, otherwise you lose it. I mean, it's good with our Muscle Bursts and stuff like that. Maybe I just want one of these other creatures. This doesn't seem good, though. Players can't play lands. Yeah, I guess I'll just take the creature. Sacrifice a land, deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. Sky Shooter's not very good. It's okay against flyers. It doesn't really kill flyers, it just stops them from attacking with certain flyers. It's alright. We're hoping to hit better green creatures this pack, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Need for Speed's pretty bad. This card, I'll go ahead and take Timberland Ruins here. Looks like we might be playing this Rodden Giant and Sarkatog. Could even play Afflict at that point. That does give us 2 more decent creatures. I don't think Sarkatog's amazing. But it's nice with Lithatog. You sack all your lands, and then you exile all your lands from your graveyard, and you've added like 4 or 5 power to your board. Maybe you can turn that into a win. This third pack's going to have to go pretty well for us, I think. Our removal's fine. We do have decent removal. We've got pump spells. We've got some okay beaters. But I'm not very confident about what we do have. Face of Fear might be playable. Battle of Wits. Yeah, this is okay. It's super overcosted. It's a 6 mana 3/4, but you can give it Fear by discarding a card and paying 3 mana. Could be a good card to splash towards the end, and yeah. I don't know how effective it is to play like land destruction in this set. There are a ton of cards that destroy land in red, and nobody ever takes them. But that's probably because they're bad. Kind of like our deck. Mirari can probably come out here. Mirari, one thing about copying spells is that you don't have to copy the cost, so you could like cast acceptable losses, and you don't have to discard another card. You get to kill 2 things. Execute, I guess, we'll take for the sideboard. It straight up destroys a white creature, and then you draw a card. Scorching Missile just deals direct damage. It deals 4 damage, and then you can flashback for 10. Guess we'll take Overeager Apprentice here to up the creature count. Shelter's pretty decent. I like random protection abilities. I really was hoping not to end up straight up 3 colors, but we need to fill in our curve. We have a little bit of mana fix in the form of these 3 cards, but this is what I'm worried about, is the early game creatures. Mad Dog is not a good card. If it didn't come into play on that turn, or it didn't attack, you have to sack it on end step. Ceasefire stops people from playing creatures. This Threshold guy's not great. I guess I'll just take Zombie Cannibal. It's not very good. Ray of Distortion kills artifacts or enchantments. No, y'all can have that. I'll just take the little 2-drop dude. Having 2 Muscle Bursts is nice. We could have had 3, but we're hurting on creatures so bad that we couldn't have really taken it when we had that opportunity. We also missed out on potentially a second Flame Burst and then a third Flame Burst effect with that Party Cat or whatever it's called. Thought Nibbler. 1 mana, 1/1 flyer. Still bad. Modern day. Bad before. And it comes with downside. You would think that'd have upside, right? I don't know. Alright, what is Burning Sands? Whenever a creature dies, that creature's controller sacks a land? I don't know, that might be decent. Reckless Charge is fine. Sadistic Hypnotist, not what you want in a creature-light deck. Ghastly Demise is good. Fledgling Imp would be fine. Frenetic Ogre seems okay. The stats are terrible, right? 5 mana, 2/3, but you pay red, discard a card at random, and give it +3/+0 for the turn. So if it goes unblocked, you have a couple cards in your hand, you can just kill your opponent out of nowhere. So they kind of have to block it, but it shouldn't be too hard to block it either. This interests me because I do have a decent amount of removal in the deck. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and take this Frenetic Ogre. I don't know how good it actually is. And there's also Ghastly Demise, which would be fine. Fledgling Imp is a weak creature, but a playable one in a format like this. Moment's Peace is a fog. Reckless Charge is okay if you have a lot of early game creatures. And then we might play Demoralize if it comes back. I would probably play Sungrass Egg. Let's go and take this Ogre. What is Spellbane Centaur? 3 mana, 3/2. Creatures you control can't be the targets of blue spells or abilities from blue sources. That actually seems decent. Ember Beast is probably pretty strong in our deck. This card seems fine. 3 mana 3/2 is very playable on its own. We are looking for creatures, and this gives us random protection from a bunch of blue things our opponents could be playing. So bounce spells like Repel, Demoralize, or not Demoralize, Dematerialize, and it doesn't protect us from counter spells, but against blue decks, this seems like it's pretty good from blue sources in general. Yeah, I kind of like this. Graceful Antelope, Planeswalk. When it deals combat damage to the player, you may have target land become a plains until it leaves the battlefield. That's its own little form of land destruction. There's another elephant here, but I am getting kind of high on the 5-drops. As good as it is, I might just want Leaf Dancer, but it's so much better too. I think I'm just going to take it. The format's slow enough that I think I can get away with some more expensive stuff. Make sure I play enough lands that I can do it. Mirari, I don't think is going to make the cut here. Hint of Insanity. Target player reveals his or her hand. That player discards all non-land cards with the same name as another card. No, I don't think so. Whenever a creature blocks, it deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. Could be decent. Crossing Archer is a nice little fallback here. Childhood Horror is pretty strong. Barbarian Lunatic, you can sacrifice it to deal 2 damage to target creature. I kind of like that. Ooh, Dirty Were-Rats in this pack too. And then there's Anarchist, which gets sorceries back. We don't actually have that many sorceries. I guess I'll take Dirty Were-Rat here. It's a regenerator. It's also a human rat minion, which I noticed last time. I'm not sure what's going up there. But once you have Threshold, it becomes a 4/5, and it can't block anymore. Dirty Were-Rat is a good card. Price of Glory. What is Petrified Field? Sacrifice or return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. That doesn't seem amazing here. Mad Dog, not what we want to play. Price of Glory basically stops players from tapping Mana Deer on other players' turns. Return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. This basically ups the, basically draws you a card at the cost of a mana. I don't really want to play that in a deck that is going to be playing 3 colors. Demoralize, give all your creatures menace until end of turn, and creatures can't block if you have Threshold. Seems fine. Probably better than some random bad creature. Nantuko Elder is strong. That's actually pretty good. There's another Sarkatog here, but they do not work in multiples very well. Blazing Salvo, probably fine. Ooh, Chainflinger too. These cards are good in multiples. But Nantuko Elder is pretty strong, especially when we have a bunch of 5-drops. It's a 3-mana 1/2 that taps for 2 mana. There's just nothing to hate about that, right? Might play Refresh. Would definitely play the second Chainflinger, but Elder can go ahead and get in my deck here. Another one of these. Foil. To each creature without flying, I guess. Like 1 mana 1/2 is not going to make the cut, but I guess we could take Magma Vein here as a sideboard card against a bunch of 1 toughness creatures, but it doesn't seem that great. Otherwise, I'm taking a 1/1 Fear or Coffin Purge or some random bad mana fixin'. Yeah, I guess I'll take it. Quadruple black. Yeah, this card it's some alternate lose-win condition thing. I don't know. As much as I'd love to take another Frenetic Ogre, I think I'm actually going to take Chatter of the Squirrels here. It's not amazing. It's just a 1-mana 1/1, and then you can flash it back and make another 1/1, but it's decent if we end up playing cards like Rites of Initiation or something like that, or anything that can pump our creatures. Ravage Highlands. It's also a card that you don't mind discarding for value to some of these other effects. Ravage Highlands would make the cut, certainly, but I'll go and take this Chatter. And then here, whenever a creature dies, that creature's controller sacrifices a land. Seems like a little bit too much setup. And it hurts us too if our creatures die. Maybe I just want Reckless Charge, give some of my big creatures haste. Doesn't seem amazing, but it's playable. Kamal's Desire gives first strike. I guess I'll take another Thermal Blast here. Too many 5-drops. If I'm not playing any of these, I'll go ahead and take this rare Antelope card, because I can. Anarchist or Ravage Highlands. Again, I do not have a lot of sorceries in the deck, so this is a little bit worse than like Scrivener would be for us. So I guess I'll take the Ravaged Highlands. Price of Glory or a Mountain Walker. This isn't even like good against red decks unless you're putting auras on it or something. I'll take Price of Progress, and if I find I'm playing against a bunch of counter spells, I'll consider it. And then another Rites of Initiation, definitely not playing a second one. Alright, we did not end up with a lot of early game creatures, so let's think about this. First things first, let me see what my colors look like. It's like, oh, it's already sorted that way. Alright, so a lot of stuff in the high end here. Face of Fear we probably don't have to play. If I cut black, or if I cut the majority of black, I can actually cut these 3 cards right away, because they're not great. This guy ramps us, but we don't have a lot. We really want to ramp into a triple black. Lithotog can stay in. Rotting Giant, Afflict, and Dirty Were-Rat I think are fine splashes, since I have a couple ways to splash. Go and put these lands on the sideboard for a second, and then I have to really just make one cut. Rotting Giant does go against a lot of my cards here too. It's a fine card later in the game when you have things to get into your graveyard, but on its own it's a little bit worse. I kind of like all of these 5-drops, even though that might be too many 5-drops. And Gorilla Titan does work with some of these other cards, so we have to think about what we don't want to play here. This card seems fine. Okay, all my cards seem reasonable. Not amazing, but definitely reasonable. Rites of Initiation, I think, is a card you want in a deck that has a ton of little creatures instead of bigger creatures, because you need cards in your hand to make this decent, and we're not going to have a lot of cards in our hand if we're just tapping out and playing our creatures each turn. I like Deep Reconnaissance because it does ramp us to our 5-drops. It can let us hit a 5-drop on turn 4, and it also has a little bit of extra value in Flashback. I really don't like this Mad Dog. Any other 2-drop I'd rather play over that? Is Spark Mage better than Mad Dog? Probably not. Is Sacratog better than Mad Dog? Probably not. I'm not a huge fan of creatures that have to attack. Bash to Bits, the Artifact Killer. Alright, well, we're definitely going to cut Rites of Initiation, and then we're going to cut one more, probably play 17 lands in this deck. See, the thing is, you can get away with 16 lands, I think, but there's so many ways to use your extra lands for discard and stuff like that. Like, you can just pitch it to Frenetic Ogre if it's the only card in your hand. This has me a little skeptical because it discards at random, but should be fine. Dirty Were-Rat's another discard. You don't want too much discard, but a little bit is good. I kind of like Demoralize as a way to push in a lot of damage. Spark Mage just seems terrible. I guess, like, maybe you give it Reckless Charge, and I don't know. I just really don't want to play with a card that's just going to have to suicide into my opponent. This doesn't leave me with a lot of early game creatures, but starting on turn 3, we should be able to ramp ourselves to turn 5, and this format is a little bit slower. The white decks are more defensive, so you shouldn't have to worry about being completely beat down, unless they're blue-white flyers. We lost to that last time with our Amugaba. And then it's possible I just want to... No, I kind of like the 2-drops here. Now, let's reconsider Mirari for a second. It does double up on these 2 effects. It doubles up on Chatter, but it's so mana intensive, you need to just drop it for 5 mana, and then every time you cast an instant sorcery, you're going to have to find another 3 mana to make it work. I think these Thermal Blasts are going to deal 3 damage most of the time, so they're going to be worse against green decks, but better against a lot of other decks. There are just generally smaller creatures in this format. Alright, so this is going to be the deck, and we'll have to figure out colors here for a second. We're mostly splashing black, and we're mostly red, I guess, even though green has most of our mana fix in, and we have 3 lands that can fix our mana if we absolutely need to. So, let's go ahead and 7/7/3. No, I don't think I want that many swamps. I think I'm only going to play 2 swamps here. Maybe even just 1. because these technically can give me black mana if I absolutely need it, and these aren't cards I necessarily have to play on turn 2, 3, or 4. Granted, they are decent on curve. So I could go down to 1 here and do 881, and then just replace some of these. I think that's fine. 16, 17 sources. Has me a little skeptical about the black. Maybe I do want to go up one more swamp, but I don't think I actually want to do that. So we're going to cut 2 of these for the red ones, and then we'll bring in that one for a forest. And this is the deck. A little skeptical about how it'll do, but if we can start slamming our 5-drops, I think we'll do fine. And then we have some late game finishers and a little bit of removal here, so it's not terrible. I think it's fine, and we will see you in the games. Hope you enjoyed the draft, and stick around. I'll see you here in a little bit. Hey guys, it's Timothy here. We are playing an Odyssey Draft with our 3-color deck, and we're going to mulligan our 0-lander. No, we're playing 17 lands, so let's go and toss that back and see if we can actually get some lands. Well, perfect colors. Unfortunately, Litatog is our best card right now, and Litatog is not a good early game creature, but we're going to go ahead and scry. I think we just want to put this on the bottom and hit some more action here and go from there. We have a lot of 5-drops in our deck, but a couple ways to ramp into them. We're playing 17 lands. Maybe I wanted to keep that on top, but Frenetic Ogre's not going to be good if I already mulligan and I'm on the play, so I just have less cards to access when I get to it. Rabid Elephant is probably better than Frenetic Ogre. And then acceptable losses can deal some with some really problematic cards. Alright, opponent playing one of the eggs. These basically just filter into mana and replace themselves. So kind of a free card. Alright, Firebolt's nice to deal with anything big that comes up. We'll go ahead and drop good ol' Litatog here. This can sack an artifact to get +1/+1 or sack a land to get +1/+1. If you want to Armageddon yourself, go for it. Maybe we should have left that land on top, I guess. But I guess maybe we should have. But we do want to get some sort of presence on board. I'm just going to go and use their egg and cast a 3-drop. Hopefully something that dies to Firebolt would be nice. And that dies to Firebolt. It's actually a really good card, too. Land. Oh, another 5-drop. Okay. Well, we'll go and kill your looter and deal 1 to you. Unfortunately, we're not putting a lot of pressure on our opponent. And we're going to be kind of glutted for 5-drops. If I draw a land, I can pretty safely run out this acceptable losses. If it discards Frenetic Ogre, then these cards are already better. And if it discards an elephant, I already have another backup elephant. Aven Fisher is not really a card I want to kill, though, unfortunately. Alright, not bad. I don't think I really get to attack here, unfortunately, because I would have to sacrifice a land to kill this, and then they just draw a card off of it. So I'm basically sacking a land to draw my opponent a card, and I don't want to use acceptable losses either. But hopefully we draw a land and we can start slamming these elephants. Yeah, and if my opponent plays something I want to kill, I can acceptable losses it, but I'm not going to use this on something that gives my opponent value and also doesn't pressure us too much back. Another looter. Should probably kill that. Oh, and another card? Filthy Cur I don't care about too much. Alright, so my opponent's going to be able to start looting here. But getting these elephants down is good. I gotta assume my opponent's on at least a removal spell. But being able to loot now is pretty good for the opponent. This card is fantastic, and just even more so than the average looter. It can target your opponent, so if they get really low on cards or the game stalled out, you can start milling, which happened in our last video. And if you have threshold cards, this gets you there quicker while also filtering through your deck. It lets you play more lands in your deck. If you have more expensive cards, it can put flat. It just does all the things you want to do. Fledgling Imp, you can discard a card to give it flying until end of turn. Not the most busted thing. Alright, more land is fine, and I do think I want to play out the land so we can have a little bit of control over what Frenetic Ogre does. I can Firebolt something here. This is actually really tempting to Firebolt because it deals damage to them too, so we'd probably do that, but I think I'm going to serve with the Elephant first and just see what happens. It would probably be smarter to Firebolt Fledgling Imp because it is another evasive creature, and I don't want to Firebolt this Fisher. But I think we're just going to go ahead and drop an Elephant. And my opponent could Syncopate it for 2, so playing the land first really doesn't change much. They could have that Rights card. And then from this point forward, we're going to start sandbagging lands. Hopefully get this Ogre down next turn, or maybe just Firebolt next turn. Do want to pay attention to what my opponent's discarding. 2 Looters is nice. Alright, looting on their turn means they probably don't have a lot of action, or they want to get a card in their graveyard. And them pitching a land probably means they're flooded. So the Flyers get to hit me. He's not discarding. Yeah, some of the 2-drops outside of green are really bad. The 2-drops in green are amazing. Wild Mongrel's in this set, Werebear's in this set. But Filthy Cur, you take the damage that it takes, plus the Mad Dog that we have. Back in the day when bears used to be only green, and if you had a bear or a 2-mana 2/2 in another color, it had to have some egregious downside. There's the blue one, Phantom Whelp, I think it's called. It's a 2-mana 2/2, but if it attacks or blocks, it bounces back to your own hand, which is not very... Ooh, Ghastly Demise. Nice one. If its toughness is less than or equal to. Alright, so killing one of my elephants. Hopefully you don't have another one. Gravedigger, get back your Cephalid Looter. Fine by me. So opponent with Looter in hand. And one other unknown card. Dirty Were-Rat. And I have 2 cards in graveyard. Alright, well, let's go and serve with Elephantis. And then just have to get more blockers on board here, unfortunately. Which is better here? Dirty Were-Rat, I wouldn't be able to hold up the activation. Frenetic Ogre, they have the same body for the most part, and I can kind of feint using this ability. I think my opponent's just going to attack me, possibly with both Flyers next turn. I get acceptable loss as a creature. I can Firebolt a creature. I'm going to go and get down this guy. And we'll actually hold up the activation. Hopefully I don't have to use it. It's worth noting I can actually get to Threshold if I really wanted to sack my lands here. So maybe there's a turn we can go all out. Okay, you're going to pitch a card here. So my opponent is trying to race now at this point, which means I might have to Firebolt one of the Flyers. They discard a land, so they have Looter plus one other card in hand. Can't do anything about the Flyers. It is going to be hard to race them. Yep, there's the Looter. I believe Firebolt can hit players too, so let's see. All right. Now, let's think for a second, because it's possible I want to keep land in hand for this, but also play it for this. If I play it, then if they don't block Lithotog, I can actually deal a ton of extra damage out of nowhere. If 2 in hand, they could have Ether Burst, a bounce spell. If I attack all in, and let's say they throw away 1 creature to Lithotog, they take 3, 4, 5, and then they hit me back for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, but I'm going to kill one of their creatures. If they don't block, they take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 if I play the land first. Let's see if we can get them to block with something and then probably Firebolt this thing. I don't think I want to attack with a Lithotog this turn. Maybe I shouldn't play that land yet either. If they double block Frenetic Ogre, I think I'm fine with it. Would I discard a card to Frenetic Ogre here? I can also Acceptable Losses something next turn. I know for a fact I want to attack with the Elephant. My opponent probably just takes it. If I attack with everything, I'm not dead on the kickback here, and this does force some blocks from the opponent. Assuming they don't have a bounce spell in hand. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Oh, actually, I'm dead from the opponent if they don't block here. Or they can block one creature. It's kind of tough, actually. If they don't block this, they take... I can discard both the cards in my hand to give it +6. That would deal 8 and put them down to 5. This could deal another 3 and put them down to 2, and I could Firebolt them. I think they have to block some combination of our creatures. And I have to be able to kill off 2 of their creatures this turn in order to not die on the swing back. So I am going to go all in here. This seems decent. We'll go and sacrifice a land. Just to make sure this doesn't die. And then I get to eat 2 of their guys here. They go down to 10. And they lose one of their looters. Assuming they don't have something here. Or loot into something. Discarded Dusk Imp. So the card in their hand is better than just a random creature. And now I think I want to go ahead and... Ooh, actually, Acceptable Losses on this deals 5 to them. So I think I want to Firebolt something else. I think I want to go ahead and Firebolt their Fledgling Imp. This way I'm taking 6 damage max. And then next turn I can Acceptable Losses this, put them down to 5. And then all of my creatures will be lethal next turn. So if that's the case, do I want to go and use Acceptable Losses on this now, or do I want to just use Firebolt on this? I think I want to actually use the Firebolt, and my reason for that is it uses more of my mana, and it's possible I want an extra card in hand next turn, or I want to see what my options are with this Frenetic Ogre. So we're going to go ahead and Firebolt Fledgling Imp. And I'll act like I have a Ghastly Demise here. I think we're in fine shape. Our creatures are better than their creatures at this point. Even though they have a looter, they have 2 cards, they can potentially see 3 more cards here. But this is going to be a huge liability against Acceptable Losses. Whenever it's dealt damage, you lose that much life. Probably attack with... Okay, attacking with Filthy Cur because it doesn't block well. That makes sense. And we'll have to see what our opponent's follow-up play is. Ooh, Morbid Hunger on that is pretty good because that gains them life. Alright, so now let's think about this turn again. Ooh, Muscle Burst. So, if I go to, let's say I Acceptable Losses this now, or I go Muscle Burst at Sorcery Speed, give this, I don't know, 6 power. That's 7 on board. This is dead. I play Muscle Burst first so that it doesn't have a chance to discard. And I'm tapped out. I have 7 on board, and then I sack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I have lethal exactly, so I need to cast Muscle Burst here. And then cast Acceptable Losses on Filthy Cur. Or rather this. And then sack all my lands to the Lithotog to give it +6. So it'll be 7 + 6 is 13. That's pretty nice. Our opponent's actually going to show me another card here. Morbid Hunger seems good against my deck. Alright, and then they see it on board. Yeah, alright, Lithotog. Like I said, not great early, but it can be used as a finisher late. Lots of flyers from the opponent. They're playing blue-black. Sky Shooter probably fine against him, although still just not an amazing card. Frenetic Ogre seems pretty poor against deck that's running Morbid Hungers. And then the rest of this is kind of okay. This is pretty nice. Although we didn't see a lot of targeted blue spells, mostly targeted black spells. Face of Fear is terrible against an opponent playing black creatures. Price of Glory basically makes instants into sorceries, and that's more or less it. Spark Mage is... this card can't be good ever, right? Sarkatog. I don't think I want to add another black card. So we're going to bring Sky Shooter in here to deal with some of the little flyers. And then probably bring out, I don't know, something that sucks, right? Demoralize. I mean, they're not going to be blocking with their air creatures. We're going to be racing, right? Also, it's going to be very hard for me to get the threshold anyway, so it's either that or just the ogre here, but I think I'll just take out the demoralize. Giving all my creatures menace for a turn. My creatures are fairly big. No, actually, no, too late. But taking out a 5-drop seems fine there. And I like the not ogres, but the other ones. Chainflinger is solid. I don't know if we're going to be able to get the threshold, especially Rotting Giants are only early game creature. But I don't know, we didn't see a lot that actually dies to a pinger. But if we just curve out here, we're fine. We will not play Rotting Giant on turn 2 unless we hit specifically our swamp. So we're not doing anything till turn 4, which isn't amazing. My opponent gets down to 2-drop. It's going to get in quite a bit of damage. Alright, there's an elephant to get us started later on. Yeah, our deck's pretty expensive. We would have loved something like Chatter of the Squirrel here, or one of our 3-drops off the top would be nice. One of our mana rampers would be probably our best draw. The Reconnaissance or the Nantuko Elder, I think it is. Alright, let's go and get your looter down. Firebolt, like even just a way to kill this would be nice. Afflict would do it, but we'd have to lose a land to do it. Actually, Chainflinger will deal with this pretty nicely later on. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and keep passing. Probably play Chainflinger first because it has the potential to kill this off. Giving my opponent infinite time to do whatever it is they want to do. Huh, attack instead of loot. Okay, that makes sense if you're a tempo deck. Okay, we've got the Fisher. When it dies, draw a card, 2/2 flyer for 4. Solid card. Alright, now, do we want to get an attacker on board, or do we want to get a beater on board, or a pinger on board? I think the problem is I'm going to be playing 5-drops here for the next couple turns, so I don't think I'm going to have the time to use this ability. I think I'll just go ahead and get Halberdier down. And then next turn, if we have to Thermal Blast a creature, we will. But we'll go in Rabid Elephant next turn. My opponent can't really attack into this with the Cephaloid, but they probably don't want to do that anyway. Alright, Patriarch's Desire is going to go and kill that off. I'm going to go ahead and take 4 here, down to 14. Probably. Card's good. Gives the enchanted creature +2/-2, but if you have Threshold, it gives it +4/-4, or an additional +2/-2. So it's used as a removal spell majority of the time, but you can also put it on some of your bigger creatures and pump them. Like if I put it on a Rabid Elephant and I didn't have Threshold, that would turn this into a 5/2. I imagine you attack with both. The only reason not to attack with Looter is if your hand is just horrendous. Well, we shall get down an Elephant now. Another Thermal Blast, so we can start picking off creatures. can't block it, so I'm going down to 12 here before I really have any action going. My opponent still has 4 cards in hand. Crypt Creeper's decent card. Not something I'm too worried about. I think it's time to start Thermal Blasting creatures. Probably on Dusk Imp first. I don't think I can start attacking. Chain Flinger actually seems amazing against my opponent's board. I could also go Chain Flinger plus Rotting Giant this turn if I want to sack this. Not sure I really want to do that. But if I draw a land next turn, I play Chain Flinger, I can go Chain Flinger Activation plus Thermal Blast something else. And I think if I get Chain Flinger down and it survives, I'm in pretty good shape. But my opponent's going to have 2 draw steps to find an answer to it. And any kind of bounce spell puts me in a pretty bad spot because my opponent can start hitting me for 4 in the air each turn. But this pings off Dusk Imp. It pings off all of their creatures except for Aven Fisher. I think we have a card in our sideboard that can actually deal 1 damage to each creature or something like that that we didn't really think about. My opponent didn't loot, so their hand is probably good, or they just forgot about it. But normally if I don't loot, it means that I don't want to get rid of any of the cards in my hand. Attack me for 4 in the air. Probably. I'd be surprised if any other creatures came in here. But I would block this with Rabbit Elephant and just eat whatever trick that it is my opponent has. Going down to 8. Hopefully I draw a land and this survives so I can start pinging plus using my Thermal Blast to clear up the board. I'd like to just see my opponent play another creature here instead of a removal spell. Okay, so they're holding mana up. Alright, so I'm just going to pass the turn and leave it the onus on my opponent to figure out what to do first, and then we'll hold up. I don't want to run into a counter spell. I don't want to start attacking yet. So we'll hold up the ping on Dusk Imp, and then probably Thermal Blast the Flyer, as bad as that seems. Okay, gonna go and loot. But I'll wait for my opponent to do something. I don't want to jump the gun and start using my removal spells into my opponent's counter spells if I don't have to. Yeah. So I will let him attack. Oh, attack with everything. Huh. So let's go to blocks. This is going to block the looter. It's possible I want to block here and then ping something and see what my opponent does. If they go for some sort of bounce spell on a creature, I can Thermal Blast in response, keep my Chain Flinger around. But losing my Chain Flinger seems bad too. I mean, this would 100% clear the board if I Thermal Blast this and ping this off. My opponent might just let that happen. I could also just take 4 here. I don't think I want to block with the Chain Flinger. I think I'm going to activate it, target something, wait to see what my opponent's going to do, and then Thermal Blast something in response. So I think that's what I'm going to do. This could go poorly for me, but let's do it. My opponent has priority. We'll go ahead and attempt to shoot your Dusk Imp. I imagine my opponent, no? No, they let that happen. All right, let's try Thermal Blast now on your... Don't really want to do the flyer, but it's better to hit the flyer than something else. And I think my opponent's fine with this. If they counter it, that's okay too. It uses some of their mana, but I think they just let this happen. I take 2, and then I've still got a pinger for their other creatures. Plus, they're losing their looter here. Not sure what's happening. Maybe they have land plus Morbid Hunger, and they want to deal extra damage to this and kill it. Or another Patriarch's Bidding. No, it's not Morbid Hunger. Not sure what the opponent was up to there. They don't get rid of Chain Flinger now. I can kill this. They can sack it in response to exile something from my graveyard, which doesn't matter too much to me. Guess it makes my Rotting Giant worse. Weird. Nothing. Acceptable losses is fine too after I use this Thermal Blast. So I'm going to go ahead and attack with the Elephant. Opponent does have 4 in hand. I hate using the removal spell on a creature that cantrips itself when it dies, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, I feel like we have decent removal for anything else that comes down here. Morbid Hunger does not kill the Elephant on its own. I have no idea what that last turn was from my opponent. Something was up there, but they decided not to do anything. So I just got to eat 2 of their creatures and ping off another one. Imagine you attack. We'll go ahead and ping it in response. And my opponent doesn't even exile. They just let that happen. Morbid Hunger on Chain Flinger. That's fine. My opponent's going to be at 20. I lose my pinger, but this is okay. And I think at this point I do want to sack a land to probably just get down Dirty Were-Rat. Put more pressure on board. I can't discard cards to it yet, but it's going to be better than Rotting Giant for the most part. And we'll start beating down. It is a real threat when it gets to threshold, but I don't think I'm I'm favorable on board, but I am at 6 life. It is nice I have 2 more removal spells for my opponent's next couple plays. And now would be a great time to just go and hit a 5-drop. If I hit like the Gorilla, then I'm definitely playing Rotting Giant because I can start eating the cards out of my graveyard. Okay, Sky Shooters, whatever. I guess I can play that plus Dirty Were-Rat. Do I want to just leave this in hand? Probably not. So go ahead and attack with the Elephantus. Play these 2 creatures. Sucks to lose a land here. If I draw a Flick, I can't cast it, but it's fine. So we're going to go and play this Dirty Were-Rat. And we'll play Sky Shooter as well. Hold off any extra flyers they decide to play. Pingers are good. They don't make pingers like this anymore. They used to be pretty prevalent. A lot of these older sets have pingers. I think this set has multiple pingers. Alright, 5 mana 4/3 flyer. When it becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it unless you discard a land card. Spell or ability? So my opponent needs to be sandbagging multiple lands for this to not die to my Reach Dude. Go and play that. Go and attack with the Elephant. He cannot really block it. It's possible I want to try and Thermal Blast that now, make my opponent discard a land, but that's going to be tough to deal with. I can block plus activate, then I kill their guy unless they discard a land here, which is fine. And then Thermal Blast it on end step again. I'm going to have to like 3-for-1 myself off of it. But they definitely have a land in hand right now. Otherwise they wouldn't be making this attack. Destroy target attacking or blocking creature with flying. Alright. So now I activate. They discard a land to counter this ability, pretty much. Oh, they don't have a land in hand? They just let that happen? No way. Alright, so now I get to keep up Thermal Blast for the next thing my opponent plays. That was unexpected. Wait, what do they have in hand if they don't have lands? They have 4 spells. Morgue Theft. Return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So they're just going to replay it? I'll try to Thermal Blast it on end step. Morgue Theft also has Flashback, so they can do that again, but the Flashback cost is pretty steep. And if I Thermal Blast and sack this next turn, I actually have Threshold, so I start attacking for 7. Is my opponent going to replay it, though? That's the real question. 4-power Flyer is pretty good. So we know they have 3 other cards in hand plus that thing. They also have Morbid Hunger still in the graveyard. Okay. What is this called? Cursed Monstrosity. So we're going to attempt to Thermal Blast that now. And if that doesn't work, we'll go for... Oh, my opponent... What? They have a way to get it back. I mean, I guess they're taking 7. I guess I have them on a 2-turn clock. They have 3 cards in hand, though, and none of them are lands. Oh, God, this thing is terrifyingly ugly. Why is it a flying mole? Anyway, I didn't expect my opponent to concede there, but I did have another answer in case this didn't go well. Let's see what we would have drawn. Don't do that often, but yeah, so we could actually sack this, give us Threshold, because this would be in our graveyard, this would be in our graveyard, we'd have 7. Play Rotting Giant, play acceptable losses on this, discard in this swamp. All right, well, that played nicely. We're going to go ahead and go to game 2 in a second, so I'll see y'all there. All right, guys, we're back for round 2 of this Odyssey draft. We've got kind of a sketchy hand here. If I hit a 3rd land, this is going to be fantastic for us. But if I don't hit a 3rd land, our hand looks really bad. I can't even cast this Dirty Were-Rat. We've got 2 turns to hit a 3rd land, and I have something to stave off. So I think I'm actually going to keep this, even though it's risky, and just hope to hit the 3rd land by turn 3 to get this Elder down. But we are on the play. I'd feel better about it if we were on the draw. No reason to keep up Firebolt mana because it's a sorcery. This was reprinted in Eternal Masters. It was great there too. It's good in any format where they're just small creatures. Swamp would be the ideal draw. Alright, so we did hit the 3rd land. Can't cast anything this turn. I don't think this is probably a typical red-green deck. I don't really know. I think you want more early game creatures. You want your wild mongrels and stuff like that. We're playing against another blue deck. Escape Artist is a 1/1 unblockable. You can discard a card to return it to your hand. I'm just going to get down Elder. I'm not too worried about that right now. Halberdier's solid. But this gives us 5 mana on the next turn. Opponent might bounce it or something like that, and that's okay, but this doesn't pressure us too much unless they like start putting weird enchantments on it. I think this is probably best in like blue-green or something like that. My opponent's on the control colors. White plays a pretty good control game in this set. Lots of tappers and things like that. Probably just holding up a counter spell of some sort. Would actually like to just hit a land, or they're going to do something on my upkeep. Okay, so I can't play creatures this turn. Fine by me. Fine by me. So we'll probably just Firebolt your guy. And just look at all the creatures in my hand. So we'll spend a turn bolting you. Get your guy off the board. And I guess I just attack for 1. Could Muscle Burst right now, but I don't think I want to do that. It might be worth getting in the extra damage. There's not going to be a turn in the near future where I'm going to be able to use my Muscle Burst, since I'm going to be probably tapping out for 5 drops. We could go Gorilla Titan next turn, Firebolt your next play. That seems pretty insane if it all works out. Firebolt's the only card in our graveyard, so if we manage to curve this into Firebolt on the turn after, we won't have any cards in our graveyard. Alright, opponent's going to see what's up here. Peak's decent. They might just be looking for a land, but it lets them see my hand, and then they draw a card, so they know whether or not they need to hold up a counterspell or something like that. Also, just a neat way to fill up your graveyard. Basically, 1 blue, put a card in your graveyard, but you also draw the card back, so it doesn't really hurt you too much to play a card like this. Not fantastically powerful, but information is great and limited. Him just knowing what I have, knowing about my Muscle Burst, is beneficial. And then if he's digging for land, he has a better chance of hitting it now. It is an instant. Doesn't have to do that right away, which leads me to believe that he either needs a card in his graveyard or he's trying to hit a fourth land. But so am I. Alright, so they either had it or passed. I got to imagine we're going to hit a counter spell here. Oh, they're going to play another ceasefire? Alright, so my opponent's on all ceasefires all day, which is kind of annoying. Well, that gets around ceasefire. I really wish we were hitting lands here. I'm going to cast that and flash it back immediately. This kind of gets two bodies on board without having to worry about his thing, but he also knows that I drew that for the turn. So, nice little minor way to get around ceasefire. Now we start seeing the big flyers, I imagine. Still going to be decent, I think. Unless my opponent just ceasefires us out of the game. Ceasefire every turn. That'd be pretty crazy. Kind of like this card. If your opponent doesn't have any pressure and you have a couple flyers on board, you just make sure they can't put any pressure down. I don't know if I'd play multiples, but depends on what my opponent's game plan is. Tap an untapped wizard you control, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 mana. For triple wound. Well, that's really annoying. If I hit a land, I'll probably just firebolt that. Patron Wizard. Now I really want to hit a land here. Ugh. I guess that's kind of a land, right? I can also play Halberdier here. I can attack with the squirrels, and my opponent knows about the muscle burst, so this should just get in 2 damage. Is this a wizard? Yeah. Alright, so apparently there's a small tribal wizard theme. I didn't even know this was a card. And we will go ahead and activate. My opponent probably does this just to make me spend an additional mana. And in fact, do I want to get Halberdier down, or do I want to guarantee that I have another land to hit? Having another creature down seems solid. Guess I'll wait on the Deep Reconnaissance. My opponent activates this just to make me overpay for it. But 3-power First Striker is solid. I would. My opponent knows I don't have anything I can cast. They don't know about this card, but how does this work? Do I get an option? Yes, I will pay 1. Wow, what an annoying card. If my opponent starts dropping more wizards, that could be pretty bad. Would love to just firebolt it. Opponent's going to just say go. Lands. Another upkeep effect. Give another ceasefire. Alright, well, that's land. Let's go ahead and attack in with everything. They want to use a trick to counteract my muscle burst. That is okay. This is a first striker. Imagine they're going to see something here. Maybe a repel. Oh, second thoughts. Exile target attacking creature and draw a card. That's strong. A lot of my opponent's cards are cantripping too, which is super annoying. I do go down to 14 here. And then we get to go ahead and play this, and I can go ahead and cast Deep Reconnaissance. I guess I tap like this, otherwise I can leave 1 extra mana up. Can I actually... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no. I was going to see if I could Firebolt there, but he counters it if I do, so... I don't want to be forced into using mana for anything, so I guess I'll just tap this down. We'll go get a swamp from our deck now. Did I overpay for this? Oh no, I just have the 1 floating. Come on, Tom Hank. The best way to teach is by example. Yes, I'll pay 1. We'll go get Swamp from our deck. That's flashbacks too, so. Alright, now my opponent's on potentially 7 mana. I don't have a way to deal with a gigantic fire or anything like that. Opponent is definitely playing the control game here. To decent effect. And they still have 5 in hand. That's the great thing about cards like this. Look, they have 5 cards in their graveyard and 4 of them drew them an extra card. Whereas I have a good hand, but if my opponent's able to counter it or bounce my stuff, it's not as good. This card's good. It's a 0/1 fire, but you can discard a card to give it +4/+4. Alright, and then another card as well. Are either of these wizards? This one is not. This one is. That's super annoying. But probably firebolt this now. Sure, so here's what I'll do. I'll go to combat. If my opponent wants to block and discard a card, I can actually thermal blast that in response. They can make me pay quite a bit for my muscle burst here. But yeah, they're just going to take it. Do I want to get down a 4/4 trampler? Possibly. Yeah, let's go ahead and firebolt your stupid wizard guy. There's no point firebolting this, they just discard a card and it doesn't do anything. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can make me pay 2 extra and they can hit me back for 5 in the air. This is not an illusion wizard, is it? God, this also makes the tap-in makes things like really unbearable as far as the pace of the game. Like my opponent's now going to tap. I'm going to pay this. I'm going to say yes. And then your wizard guy should be gone. Alright, now you get to do whatever you want. 4 cards in hand. They don't necessarily have to attack with this. I also don't think they want to discard cards to block squirrels, so we will see what happens. Okay, so they are discarding a card. They discard Cephalid Coliseum. This is solid. This card still sees play in older formats. Okay, so opponent's probably got something else to play this turn that blocks my squirrels. I mean, they just dealt 5 to me. Angelic Wall, Flying Defender. And I don't have to worry about what is Testament of Faith. X becomes an XX wall in a... Ooh, that's actually really strong. Ooh, play one more card so I can kill this. With Defender. So you pay X mana and it becomes an XX until end of turn. Fantatog, sacrifice an enchantment to get +1/+1, discard a card. Okay, they're empty-handed. I can now kill this illusion while I have a chance. I can activate this for 1. I guess I serve with the squirrels and use Muscle Burst to just take out like a wall. I only have one thing they can sack to this. They have no cards in hand. And I'm not afraid of getting hit back for very much. So we'll go ahead and serve with the squirrels. We will Muscle Burst if they block. Even if it just means I'm trading Muscle Burst for this wall, that wall's going to brick me anyway, right? And then I'll kill this while I have the opportunity. My opponent has no cards in hand. Ooh, that's even better. I get the Muscle Burst off your Fantatog. 1 and 2. And then Thermal Blast killing your illusion. Could also get Gorilla Titan down here. Maybe I just like that. My opponent can hit me for 5 in the air again if they discard a card, but they can't afford to discard. And if they discard on blocks, I don't think they have any flashback cards I need to know about. Yeah, let's actually just get back, or get old Gorilla on the battlefield here. Don't think I'm going to be able to pump it this game. Fortunately, I don't have one of those Togs that eats cards out of my graveyard. I guess my opponent can start using this ability. Sack lands to draw cards isn't decent. This can't hit me, though. But it makes it hard for me to attack into them. I don't have a lot of enchantment removal. In fact, I'm not entirely sure I have any enchantment removal. Okay, they are going to sack a land to draw a card. I might just have to trade the Gorilla for this Testament. As bad as that sounds. I do want to get this off board. This card's decent. Sack a land, draw a card. 2 mana, 1/1 flyer. Body not too relevant, but good activated ability on top of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Just going to be reactive here. My opponent's probably deciding between holding up mana for this or casting another card. Okay, they're going to actually hit me this turn. Protection from creatures. Wow, that's annoying. Opponent's going to hit me for another 5 here. And hold up mana for this wall, I guess. Then I probably want to hold up Thermal Blast. Means they're trying to race me. Now the question is, do I want to trade my Gorilla for this wall? Probably. Don't think I can just sit around not attacking. And I have other creatures to play as the game rolls out. Ooh. That makes me not really want to use my Thermal Blast here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can also hold up 3 more mana. I think I'm going to have to use Thermal Blast here, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means I'm not doing anything on my turn. Let's go ahead and see what my opponent's got. They're probably just going to activate this wall, I imagine. Probably have a pretty free attack with the squirrels, too, but... Oh, they're just going to take it? Seems sketch. I imagine they're going to draw a card here. So what I'm going to do is, they'll be at 3 cards. I'm going to wait for them to activate this ability and try to Thermal Blast it in response. They can't activate it again. Yeah, alright, they're going to sack a land to draw a card. Not bad, not bad. You dig through your library so quickly in this set. There's so much card draw. My opponent's already at 17 cards. So we'll go ahead and wait. My opponent knows I have at least these 2 cards. I don't remember if they saw the Thermal Blast or not. No blocks. So they need a card to discard plus some sort of counterspell to stop this thing from dying. I don't have Threshold. Alright, let's go ahead and try this. Ooh, they're discard... Wait, no. What did they discard? Island. See if this works. It's possible it doesn't, and then if it doesn't, I'm in very bad trouble because my opponent could actually kill me next turn. Uh-oh, looks like it might not be happening. 2 in hand from the opponent. Any sort of counterspell does it. Ooh, no, that happened. Great. That's fantastic for me. Gonna have trouble attacking through this thing now. I think we just want to get Chain Flinger down here. I can afford to take 1 in the air. Even my opponent's drawing an extra card each turn. Kind of counteracts the extra card draw. A little bit. because, okay, I'll get back to that thought. This is 8 mana. I can cast, I definitely want to get Chain Flinger down, so I think I'm going to go Chain Flinger plus Dirty Were-Rat. And no attacks this turn, unfortunately, because he can make this a 6/6. So we'll lead with Dirty Were-Rat in case, well, if he's holding up Syncopate, it doesn't actually matter. It does, because he might want to Syncopate. Yeah, I would rather have Chain Flinger survive here, so we'll go and cast the Were-Rat first in case they want to counter it. Ooh, they are going to counter it? Or maybe they're going to make this a thing in response? If that gets countered, I think I'm okay with it. Syncopate for 1,000,000. Alright, I will not pay 1,000,000. No. Ooh, that means I get to attack with my creatures this turn, though. Why'd you Syncopate for so much? I only have 4 mana up. Alright, well, we're going to go ahead and play that after combat now. Yeah, my opponent just gave me a free attack there. At least with the squirrels. Now they're taking 2 damage this turn if they don't want to take the damage from the gorilla. There's one board wipe I'm aware of in this set that you need to watch out for. It's Kartar's Wrath. 6 mana, double white. It destroys all creatures, and then it also makes 2 1/1 spirit tokens if you have what's it called? Threshold, which does play pretty nicely with cards like this, which can survive afterwards, even though this doesn't really put pressure on you. But now I've got a way to kill off this guy, and I just have lethal on board. I guess that's not 100% true. Yeah, I have lethal on board. If I kill that off. They can block here and take 1, 2, 3. You can also just start pinging them. But opponent with 1 in hand, they can sack a land, but that uses 3 mana this turn. Old. Alright, now I do have to watch out for this. It's going to eat one of my creatures, but we'll go and shoot this while I can. I think it's better than just shooting my opponent. Alright, if I attack with everything, I get my opponent down to 3 here, and then they're dead next turn. And I don't really want to play into a board wipe if that's what my opponent has. So I might just end up casting Deep Reconnaissance this turn. Attack with everything, let them eat my gorilla, put them down to 3. And then next turn, they have to be able to block an additional creature plus deal with this, whatever it's called. Could even go with a Tog here and have enough things to make this deal 2 damage to something. Maybe I wait a turn on this gorilla if that's the case. If I attack with the squirrels, I get in 1 point of damage. My opponent has to make this a creature to do it, but they only have to make it a 2/2. Am I happy sacking a squirrel here to deal an extra damage? I think so with this guy on board. I think I'll cast Lithotog this turn. Yeah, I'm not going to attack this turn. I'm pretty far ahead. My opponent has 1 card in hand. I mean, it's possible I just get owned by a board wipe here, but at least I have 1 backup play. And if my opponent doesn't have a board wipe, we're looking pretty sweet. I wish I had something like Skeletal Scrying to eat my graveyard, make this huge, and then also draw cards. Skeletal Scrying would be great in my deck. I don't really need Threshold for a lot of things. Alright, so look for enchantment removal. My opponent's playing... Oh, okay. I just won the match. Our sideboard tech was super strong. Anyway, that keeps happening lately, but I'm not going to complain. I'll take the win. Thanks for watching, guys. See y'all in the finals. Welcome to round 3 of this Odyssey draft. We are in the finals. I don't really care to have this in my opening hand, but we're going to keep our hand. We do have our Elder to curve into our Ogre. We have something else to play on turn 3 if we feel like that's what we need to do, and we are on the draw here. So against a non-aggressive deck, I kind of like our draw here. This is kind of what we want. Oh, we're playing against another red deck. Red is notoriously bad for being terrible. Oh, where was this guy during the last 2 matches? Creatures you control can't be the target of blue spells or abilities from blue sources. Red, white. Alright, still nothing we can play. I'm not experienced enough with the format to know how this color combination works. I imagine it's beat down. Barbarian Lunatic. You can pay 3 and sack it to deal 2 damage to target creature. One thing to note about Odyssey is that it was printed at a time when you could put damage on the stack, so you could actually deal to an opponent with this. That damage would go on the stack before it resolved, and then you could actually sacrifice it to deal another 2. This only hits creatures, though, so my opponent might sack it to kill this thing if I play that. Maybe I want to get this Spellbane Centaur down and just threaten to block it, but I did not draw a 4th land yet. Don't really want to take a beating here, but the thing doesn't hit me too hard. It's possible my opponent attacks me, I don't block. It's also possible maybe I just want to block, and then kills this, but that uses their entire turn and leaves them with an empty board. I don't think that's what my opponent's going to do. Do I want to block this? I have things I can play. Nah. I like the idea of being able to play like Spellbane Centaur and then hold up Muscle Burst. This is kind of annoying against that. Blazing Salvo. So it either deals 3 to this or deals 5 to me. The first one I'm usually fine, I think, taking 5. It's pretty brutal. It deals a lot of damage, but it does keep my guy on board. I mean, 5's not a lot you can, like, the amount you can just take every 5 seconds. You can't just take 5 from every single Blazing Salvo. So the next one I might have to just let it kill my creature. My opponent's looking to beat me down. Okay, so they are going to kill my Elder. Not drawing lands there is bad, especially in a 17 land deck. But we'll go ahead and get a 3 drop down. We'll pass the turn from there. This card, just a vanilla 3-2 against our opponent, but I think that's fine enough in this format. This is a stat line we see quite a bit nowadays, 3 mana 3-2s with upside, or vanilla for that matter. Alright, my opponent got rid of their only creature. We did draw a land, so let's go and attack. If my opponent has some sort of trick, maybe I can Muscle Burst through it, or maybe they just take 3. Weird. I'm not expecting a Wrath from the opponent, but I guess it's possible. I'm going to see a removal spell here. No. I find it weird to sack this if they didn't have something to follow up with. Just nothing again. This feels like a Wrath to me. I think I'm going to sit behind Thermal Blast here. Like, my opponent can't have just all lands in hand. They sacked this and then didn't play any more creatures. Yeah, I'm going to sit behind Thermal Blast here instead of just tapping out to play another creature. Hallowed Healer, that has to die. This card is very good, and I misplayed around it super heavily last time. It prevents 2 damage to a creature or player by tapping, and then once you have Threshold, it starts preventing 4 damage, so it's like impossible to kill. But let's go ahead and do our best to kill it right now, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. Another Muscle Burst. This actually adds 7 damage to my attack, so I can go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, I have lethal on my opponent here if they don't have some sort of effect. I don't think I'm going to go for lethal this turn. Probably play the Frenetic Ogre now. Come on, use a burn spell. Use a burn spell. Ah. Fine, I'll play the Frenetic Ogre. The problem is if they... Oh, maybe they aren't? No. If they actually play something there, I can blow them out super hard with Muscle Bursts, but if I try to jump the gun on the Muscle Bursts, then I can get blown out by something. And I don't know the format well enough to know what white and red cards I should be thinking about at instant speed. It's possible I just gave up game that turn. 3, 4. These 2 Muscle Bursts is 7 extra damage whenever I need it, which means I still have lethal next turn. My opponent on 7 in hand. I'm really expecting a Wrath here. Protection from creatures. All right, that guy. End of 5 mana play. Shower of Coals deals 2 damage to each of up to 3 target creatures and players. That's pretty strong. So I think I actually want to sack a land to keep this around. Wow, this seems very strong. We'll sack the mountain. And then I might still just have lethal next turn. But saves that guy. Shower of Coals. Threshold deals 4. What in the world? What in the world? That card seems strong. Okay, well that wasn't quite what we wanted. I can make this 5 power. Let's see, I can demoralize to give my guys menace. I can make this 5 power. I can sack all my lands to this and my opponent can't block, so I do get to win here through his pro creature thing. But I need to play it well, so let's go ahead and activate this. Activate Frenetic Ogre. Doesn't matter what we're discarding. Maybe they concede in response, but they do get to see an extra card here. We'll go ahead and discard something, pitch in a Muscle Burst, and then we will go ahead and sack 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need to sack 3 lands. Sack, sack, and we'll just make it the full 10. And we just have to jam. Alright, giving our creatures menace, pretty nice there. I guess we could have also tapped out, sacked, and then made just our creatures unblockable with Threshold. Alright, they have a little 1 toughness dude. Where is that card? Spark Mage. Shower of Coals. That seems brutal. Was that an instant? It can't be an instant, right? Deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. This does kill off Hallowed Healer. I don't... Let me see something real quick. Sorry, I'm checking the text on something, and I don't have something up to do it. So, never mind, that's being too slow. Oh, Hallowed Healer is a 1/1. So my opponent showed me 3 1 toughness creatures, which means Spark Mage, whatever. I don't know. Like Spark Mage at least trades for something, right? If you're on all 1 toughness creatures, Magma Vein is the one I'm looking at. So I can sack a land to deal 1 damage to each non-flyer. My opponent showed me all 1 toughness creatures. Maybe I want these. The thing is, Spark Mage's ability won't be relevant too often, but it's still just going to trade for my opponent's 1 toughness creatures, right? Chatter of the Squirrel seems good here. This card's been doing quite a bit of work. It's closed out 2 games now. Chain Flinger seems fine. Actually, Chain Flinger seems fantastic. My deck seems good against my opponent. Maybe I'm going to cut this Rotting Giant, I think. I probably should have cut it a while back in favor of just another way to kind of deal with my opponent's stuff. Spark Mage seems decent. The thing is they either have to block Spark Mage or I just kill their creature anyway. But it's bad if my opponent ever plays anything that has more than 1 toughness. Kind of like this Magma Vein. It deals 1 to our creatures, but our creatures are mostly higher than 1 toughness. Guess it kills our squirrel. What do you guys think, watching from home? If you're watching this, should I be bringing one of these cards in? Deals combat damage to a player. You may have Spark Mage deal 1 to target creature. This just seems like such a backwards ability. Anyway, kind of like the idea of trying this one out. And we put it back in the sideboard. All right, let's run it back. We're in the finals. We're up a game. Let's close this out, guys. Let's win an Odyssey draft. On the draw, my opponent's white-red. I guess they're not hyper aggro. That Cole card is insane. Just a natural 3 for 1. Obviously, they couldn't kill with the Tug there, and I guess our creatures match up well, but with Threshold, that just mows down 3 creatures. 4 damage for 5 mana on 3 targets. Am I the only one who thinks that's, like, insane? I gotta imagine that's one of the better cards in the set, and I just haven't seen it yet. I've only seen the cards that are in the packs that I've opened and looked at. I'm pretty sure I would have snapped that up, even with, I don't know, talking a lot of trash about how Red's playing, but the removal seems to match up well. Those Thermal Blasts, even 5 mana deal 3 has been playing out well. I don't think I've even cast Acceptable Losses. And we do have to watch out for Blazing Salvo, but you see Blazing Salvo is very similar to like the Torment cards, or at least like Torment of Hailfire, or Torment of Scarabs from Hour of Devastation. It gives your opponent an option, and your opponent's always going to take the option that's best for them. 5 is a huge chunk of damage for 1 mana, and there are times where that can close out a game. You either kill their blocker or they take 5, and they're in lethal damage range anyway. And that's not great. This hand looks great. We can actually cast our Were-Rat for once. We can go Minotaur into Were-Rat and Acceptable Losses if we need to. 4 damage, sorcery speed to deal 5 damage to a creature isn't amazing by any means, and having to discard a card at random, but there are some problematic creatures I think you have to be able to deal with in this set, so. Especially some of the bigger green creatures like the stupid elephant that we have. Beloved Captain, pro creatures. Alright. I accept. This is an uncommon. Ooh. Well, that just deals with it, so. Fantastic draw. It's an instant, too, so we can see we need to deal with it. Probably you'd do it on this over anything else. I don't know. Maybe an aggro creature. This will die at some point in this game. It kind of brick walls creatures for a while. I guess I'll Flame Burst it. Oh, there's my phone going off. Let's do it. My opponent can follow up with something else. Pro Creatures does not protect you from burn spells. Ooh, Ember Beast. Can't attack or block alone, so we get a little bit of a reprieve on that. I think this card was in Gatecrash too. One of those sets. Conceal the fact that we have black mana for now and just get down an attacker. Now my opponent could play a creature here and then Ember Beast can block, but if they don't play a creature, it can't attack or block. And unless they have a haste creature, it can't even attack this turn. I was thinking Ember Beast would probably be fine in our deck. It's oversized for its mana cost, especially in a format where you're playing a lot of, smaller creatures. But it is what it is. Resilient Wanderer. 2/3 first strike. Discard a card. It gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Geez, that's actually really strong. First strike and discard a card to give pro color. This can't attack by itself, so that's not happening. Wow, this card very strong. Apparently my league's ending soon. Would rather Flame Burst that, but unfortunately I don't have that option, so. Oh man, I messed up. So if I go for Acceptable Losses here, he just gives it pro red and I'm down a card. If I try to attack, he double blocks and gives it pro green, and I'm down a card. And I messed up my mana to the point where I can't play my Dirty Were-Rat because I just hastily played that forest out of my hand. So I'm probably just playing Lithotaug and passing here. Alternatively, he could go block, block. I could use Muscle Burst to trade for his Ember Beast. He gets to keep this card. He'd have 5 damage to my 5 toughness. I do get to kill Ember Beast and force a card out of his hand, but he gets to keep this thing. Guess we'll play Lithotog and just wait for my opponent to have fewer cards in hand. Ooh, a Dirty Were-Rat would have been actually pretty decent there, because it does block his thing. Yeah, I messed that up real bad by playing that forest out right away. Acceptable Losses is not a good answer for this card. You can activate it multiple times per turn too. Strikes me as very good. Blessed Order, other creatures get +0/+1. Solid. Hoo-hoo. And give it +3/+. Okay, opponent's bringing the beats. Now, I feel like I need to get this off board, but he can give it pro green by discarding the last card in hand. I can take this hit, it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and go down to 11. And then acceptable losses on one of these things. Then hold back Muscle Burst, possibly. I can double block. Anything I double block, I'd have to sack a land to keep this. That's not true. I could double block here. I'd still have to sack a land to kill that, though. And none of my blocks are amazing. And then they still have Reckless Charge next turn to reuse. Oh, why couldn't I play that Dirty Were-Rat? This is bad. I can block something and just eat some lands here. I think I'm just going to have to take this hit, unfortunately. 3-drop would be nice here. Oh man, I messed up so bad because I'd be able to play Lithotog plus Muscle Burst this following turn. Yeah. I guess I can regenerate this too. Alright, diversify the threats. That's the name of the game here. Opponent with 2 cards in hand plus Reckless Charge in the graveyard gives +3/+0 in haste. So they can play another small creature, give it haste, attack all out again. And their other creatures get +0/+1. So opponent looking like they're in a pretty leading position here. Although if I can trade off some creatures, I feel okay about this. Not amazing, though. I can discard a card to regenerate this by sacking this land, which I might end up doing. Probably just get rid of the mountain. No, I can't. Oh, man. That's so bad, too. Can't get rid of the mountain because then I don't have a red source for acceptable losses because I'd have to use this to regenerate here. I mean, Lithotog can save itself as well by eating a bunch of lands. Am I just going to eat all of my lands this turn to try and kill some of my opponent's creatures? That's a possibility. If they have that shower of coals, they can kill this and deal 2 to me, deal 2 damage to another thing, force me to sack a land for Lithotog. This has First Strike as well. What a card. I didn't know this existed. Resilient Wanderer. Opponent's deck seems solid. We didn't see these hyper aggro creatures early on. Ember Beast is what I would consider a hyper aggro creature. You need other attackers to make it good. We are waiting on the opponent here, though. Ideally, I'd love to draw another land, like my opponent just does nothing, draw another land, play acceptable losses, hold up Muscle Burst or something like that. But this could even incidentally get rid of Muscle Burst. The other Muscle Burst would be a great draw, too. Alright. Oh, they've got another Reckless Charge in their hand. They're just on Reckless Charges for days. Alright, now we really got to think about this. So we don't want to do anything before blocks. It's possible I want to sack a bunch of lands to try and kill my opponent's creatures. If I put anything in front of this, they have to discard a card though, which is nice. So I could actually put like with the Tog in front of this, sack 2 lands to pump it, put both of my other creatures in front of this and kill it off, and then this would die if they don't give it protection. I would take 3 here, but I'd have to sack 3 lands, and then if my opponent gives it protection... Ugh. But if I manage to kill off his other creatures, that neuters his Ember Beast, even though this leaves me with so little. Alternatively, I could say just double block here or here. Regenerate Dirty Were-Rat. Another option is to go like this. If they put Were-Rat first, I do have to sack a land here to save it, but then both of my creatures survive. And then with the Tog, this is not an instant, is it? No, it's sorcery. I could take 2, I could go down to 6 here. That seems really bad against the multiple reckless charges. I could block here and give +2, +2. No, I'd have to give +3 to kill anything. So if I blocked here and I gave +2, +2, and then he lets this die and lets this die, then Ember Beast can't do anything. I think my best chance here is just to eat some of my own lands and hope that my opponent doesn't have a card in hand. That's got to be so bad for me. I mean, they can just discard a card to give this protection, right? They can wait for me to sack my lands to do it. I could also just sack 1 land and make sure this survives. Kind of like that. See how my opponent orders these guys. I'm hoping they put Dirty Were-Rat first, but this would put me down to just 3 lands in play if they put Were-Rat first. If I somehow manage to clear this thing off, then their Ember Beast is a lot worse. Although having double Reckless Charge in their graveyard means any creature they have can just come down, gain haste, and attack along with this. Oh, they did put Were-Rat first. So forcing me to lose some lands here. Oh, what you got? Oh, if they cast this card, though. Okay, Shelter on that is decent. Because now I can kill this. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice. Oh, but they draw a card. No. Ugh. Brutal. Oh, they would have a cantrip there. I guess I forced my opponent to protection from black. I could save Dirty Were-Rat here and let Lithotog die, take 3. God, the fact that they drew another card off that is so brutal for me. I think I save Were-Rat, discarding. Has to be the mountain. And then I could pump Lithotog and just keep it around for a turn. I don't lose any creatures this way. Oh god, what a disaster. I do go down to 8, but I keep all my creatures. My opponent with 1 in hand. And if they cast something, they don't have to. Okay, 5 drop. I can attack him for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14 damage this turn, but I really can't. I have to block and hope this muscle burst gets there. Start discarding like my 5 drops to Dirty Were Rat. I think my best bet of winning this game and not dying is to make sure, alright, play something, Reckless Charge it. Or just use Reckless Charges. My opponent has another protection spell in hand that's going to be so difficult for me to deal with. Okay, so now we're going to go to blocks again. Probably make the same exact block. I have this Muscle Burst, plus I can regenerate. So I like going here. I like Muscle Burst, potentially. I'm not going to block Ember Beast, I don't think. I got to keep in mind this has First Strike as well. If I double block, he can give protection from one of the colors. And I can make sure this dies. I have 4 in the graveyard as well. I'm going to have 5 with Muscle Burst. I can sack 2 lands and go down to like 0 lands. Alternatively, you can just First Strike this off. I really want to go down to 2 lands though. So Muscle Burst here, kill this. Sack a land to this. My opponent gives protection from some color. This is dead, so this has 3 toughness and takes 2 from the one it doesn't have protection from. If he doesn't give protection from black, I can actually sack enough to... I don't know. This is so bad. I'm going to discard a card and cast Muscle Burst and sack a land, so this probably will actually have Threshold. And Ember Beast is the best thing for me to leave on board here, I think. Yeah, let's do that. Going down to 5 here. I've got to hope my opponent doesn't have like another random protection card in hand or something like that. Hoping they just discard to this. Alright, they're going to force the issue. We will sack the green source. Okay, they're going to give it protection from... They discarded a mountain. Alright, this has protection from green, so now what I do is I have 5 in graveyard, I cast Muscle Burst on this, and then I discard a card to Dirty Were Rat. Actually, I don't even have to discard... Yeah, I discard a card to Dirty Were Rat, and now I have Threshold, so this will die, because that's pro green. So that's the plan. Is go and pump this. I still have that 1 green floating. Discard to Were Rat. Discard an elephant. And now I should be able to clear off this, and they're left with just Ember Beast and a Reckless Charge in graveyard. I have 2 lands, but I keep all my creatures this way. This can't block anymore, so it might as well start attacking. So thing I'm most scared of here is my opponent going creature plus Reckless Charge and just killing me out of nowhere. So I have to leave a creature back on defense. I'm not casting acceptable losses anytime soon either. Alright, we will... Do I want to keep that in hand? Probably not. With a Tog and mana, I'm going to have to eat all my lands. So we're going to start attacking the opponent and hope they don't rip. This can't block anymore because of its Threshold ability, but I do have my opponent on a 3-turn clock here. Oh, what a mess. What a mess. Creature plus Reckless Charge is enough to put lethal on me. Firebolt would be good too. Oh god, they drew a creature. Oh no. This costs 3 though. and they're very close to threshold. As long as it gets +1/+1 flying, so it's a 2/4. This can now block. All right, think we play that out. Attack with Dirty Were-Rat. If I draw a land for acceptable losses, this is great. Please no creature, please no creature. Just draw a land, man. Just draw a land. My opponent can make a lethal attack here. If they just don't have anything, they can put Reckless Charge on either of these creatures. Or rather, they put it here, attack with both. I probably just chump this. I can cast acceptable losses next turn if they don't do anything. Kind of hoping they do that. Reckless Charge on the Mystic Zealot. Okay, that means they probably don't have anything in hand. They attack with both. I chump this. Or do I want to get this off board? Let's see, if I double block here, oh no, that kills me. So let's go ahead and if I double block here, I can actually kill this with acceptable losses next turn. My opponent's out of Reckless whatchamacallit, so I don't even have to do that right away. Do I want to trade 2 creatures for this thing? Do I just want to chump, kill it, keep back? No. Okay, so I'm going to chump here. Oh, if my opponent has a creature, this goes very poorly for me. Let that happen. Alright, now the plan is acceptable losses to kill this, attack for 7, and then you need a hasty creature to not die on my next turn. So, attempt to kill this thing. Because this can attack or block unless he has a hasty creature and he's out of Reckless Charges in the graveyard. So please, no shelter, no shelter, no shelter. Yes, this is going well. This is going well. Attack. Put you down to 2. Okay, let's see it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. This is crazy. No, what is this? What is this? Chainflinger, oh no. He has to block both my creatures, though. Okay, oh, I can't play that, but I can regenerate, right? So he has to block both. He goes here. He puts Ember Beast in front of this, and this just dies. And then he puts Chainflinger in front of this, and this just dies. I can't replay the Ogre. And then we're left with Ember Beast, a Dirty Were-Rat, and that's it. Oh, why couldn't I have just drawn Firebolt there? So again, he could block here and lose both creatures, but he just blocks in front, eats my Spellbane Centaur, I eat his Chainflinger, and then we're left a creature that can't block and a creature that can't block unless he draws another creature. This is crazy. Oh, come on, come on. I just need him to not rip a creature. And I can't cast this. That's so bad for me. Break one time. Break one time. The problem is if he draws a creature, I can force him to block, but he blocks with Ember Beast and kills me with the creature on the swing back. Oh god, are we going to get there? Are we going to get there? Oh my god. Please no second thoughts or anything. I can regenerate through a destruction spell. Yeah! Oh, that was insane! We ate so many of our own lands! Oh my god, that was crazy. I'm so stoked that happened. Woo! Alright, we took down that Odyssey draft. That was amazing. There was no way we win that game, right? Okay. I'm ecstatic right now. Alright, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That was insane final game there. So I hope you really enjoyed it. It was great. Thanks for watching, guys. I think I'm going to be back to Hour of Devastation drafts after today. I do like just jumping back into these old queues and kind of seeing what some of these formats I missed are like. And I really enjoyed this Odyssey draft. There's so much interaction between creatures. There weren't enough cards that just won the game on their own that you had to feel like you were going to play against a bomb every single time, even though there were a couple, but we didn't face too many of those. And the gameplay was just great. The interaction between Threshold and discarding cards and using your graveyard as a resource was really awesome, despite there being a lot of cards that are just bad and unplayable. You saw in the packs there were so many just terrible cards that we would never play, land destruction, stuff like that. But I'm glad we could close out with such an awesome game there at the end. I really hope you guys enjoyed this flashback draft, and join me next week when we're probably back to Hour of Devastation, and Ixalan is creeping up on us in about a month, so expect to see that when it happens. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. My name's Timothy. Remember to hit that little subscribe button down there. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.